Growing up in ancient Greece. Image 1. Morning at home. In Athens in the 5th century before Christ, the day began earlier than it does today. The sun rose above Mount Hymettus, and the first rays touched the walls made of clay and lime. The houses were modest. Each had one courtyard, 2 or 3 rooms, and a roof made of tiles. In the middle of the courtyard stood an altar, a stone dedicated to Hestia, the goddess of the hearth. Every morning, a little oil was burned, and a short prayer was whispered. For peace, for bread, for the children. It was not religion in the modern sense, but order, a sign that the day began together. The mother kneaded dough made from barley flour, and the boy brought water from the public fountain. The house smelled of smoke and olives. In the corner lay a small curly dog, similar to today's terrier. Aristophanes wrote about them, calling them the guardians who bark only at lazy masters. Beside the wall were chickens, and in the corner a basket with clay figurines the child had made. Image 2. The house and relationships. The house had 2 worlds, the front part for men and guests, and the back part for women and children. In the back stood a loom, where a Thracian slave woman spun wool. She did not know Greek well, but she understood the mother through glances. When the child cried, the slave lifted it and rocked it, and the mother said, "Not too much, or it will be spoiled." The slave sang a song from her homeland. Softly, in words no one understood, yet it was often the first melody a child remembered. Herodotus wrote that foreign nurses brought to Athens songs that no one understood, yet everyone remembered. In the house, slaves were not enemies. They lived in the same space, worked together, shared food, though not the same rights. Children did not see them as servants, but as aunties, the ones who could calm a cry and mend clothes. Image 3. Schoolboys in Athens began school at the age of 7. The school was a small room near the market, without desks or blackboards. The teacher sat, and the children stood or knelt on mats. Each brought a wooden tablet covered with wax and a stylus made of metal or bone. On the tablet, they learned to write their name and the name of their city, for an Athenian belonged first to the polis, and only then to himself. They studied the verses of Homer. Do not seek the culprit, seek measure. The rhythm of the words was as important as their meaning. Plato later wrote that the soul is taught discipline through rhythm. The teacher would say, do not speak more than you understand. School lasted until noon. No breaks, no punishments, except for the teacher's stern gaze. Image 4. Games and toys. When school ended, the streets filled with children's voices. Boys played ephedrismos. One would carry the other on his back while aiming at a stone on the ground. Whoever hit the target switched roles. Others rolled metal hoops with sticks, running behind them with laughter and shouting. On vases from the 5th century BC, these very games are depicted. Hoops, leather balls, rows of pebbles, small wooden figures. Girls had their own toys, clay dolls, plangonai, imitating adult women, miniature chairs and dishes for playing house, small balls made of wool or paper soaked in resin. Some dolls had movable arms and legs. They were found in Tanagra and are now kept in the Museum of Athens. The girls dressed them in cloth and sang lullabies. Sleep, little doll, the wind is blowing, morning calls, the sun is glowing. There was no competition in play, no one counted points. The goal was not to win, but to stay together, to keep the game going as long as possible. That was the first lesson in community and measure. Image 5. Stories and evening conversations. When night fell, the family gathered. The oil lamp cast a yellow glow, and the scent of smoke and bread filled the room. The father sat on a low stool, the child on the floor, and the slave woman spun wool in the corner. The mother smiled and listened. The father began, "Do you know the story of Theseus?" The child nodded. "They say he killed a monster, but the true labyrinth wasn't in the palace, it was inside him. Everyone told him, 'Don't go, you'll get lost.' And he said, 'If no one goes, no one will ever be found.' So he went, with no way back. But there he met Ariadne, who gave him a thread. Remember, that is the most important part of the story. It's not the sword, not the strength, it's the thread. The thread is trust. If you let it go, you lose your way. If you pull too hard, it breaks. Hold it, but with measure. That is how you leave the labyrinth." The child stared at the lamp as if seeing a path. The mother added, "And Ariadne was left alone." The father smiled. "That's why we tell this story, so you remember what he forgot." The tales of Theseus and Odysseus were not fairy tales. They were lessons. Through them, children learned that mistakes are to be forgiven, wisdom measured, and every decision bears a cost. Image 6, rituals of passage. Boys and girls did not become adults by birth, but through ritual. When a child turned 5, the father cut a lock of its hair and burned it on Hestia's altar, a sign that it had survived the early years and now belonged to both gods and home. Girls aged 10 to 14 took part in the festival of Arctia, in the temple of Artemis at Brauron. They wore yellow dresses and ran in circles, imitating the movements of a bear. Legend said that one girl had offended the sacred bear, and the goddess ordered that all girls become bears, to learn when to be gentle and when to show strength. The bear symbolized balance, a guardian that also knew when to retreat and wait for its time. That was the lesson of femininity in their world, strength and silence together. After returning from the temple, the girls brought small figurines and pots inscribed with, "A gift to Artemis from little Clea." Those objects were truly found among the ruins of Brauron. When a boy became an ephebos, around 16, he put on a short tunic and swore an oath before the citizens. "I will not disgrace my weapon. I will not abandon the assembly. I will leave the city better than I found it." The father stood behind him, silent. Thus childhood ended, quietly, before the community. That was the moment when the boy became part of the city, not just the family. Image 7. Night in Athens. Night in Athens was never completely silent. Somewhere a guard passed with a lantern, and in the distance a dog barked. The slave woman sang a lullaby. The mother mended fabric. The child slept on a woolen mat. On the Acropolis, the torches of the Parthenon burned like stars above the city. Such was childhood 2,500 years ago, in a city that did not yet know the light of lamps, but knew the light of words.